Welcome to Triggered. I'm Michael Bain, coming to you, of course, from the secret hidden bunker in the Rocky Mountains and Dragon House Studios, where it is summer in Colorado. Yesterday, the temperature got to 375. Today, there's a good chance it's going to break 400. What we're going to talk about today is this gun. It is a Ruger American Pro competition model in 9mm. I gave you a quick first look at this way back early March, before the world self-destructed. And what I said then was that I wanted to shoot this gun in competition. 3-gun, IPSC, I didn't care. Some kind of competition, which immediately caused the COVID virus and all competitions everywhere in the entire world to stop. Well, I still haven't gone back to a competition of any kind. IPSC, Cowboy, NRL 22, Sporting Clays. Part of that is because Colorado is still under some pretty draconian laws. We have one of those governors. While I haven't had a chance to do the things I want with it, I still want to take you through the pistol and show it running and do a little comparison with my other competition guns. That seems a pretty reasonable thing to do. This is interesting. If you recall, Ruger used to pride themselves on not being involved in competition of pretty much any kind. Ruger's first foray into competition was, I don't know, a decade ago in Cowboy with their Vaqueros, with the Ruger Blackhawks. But typically for the more practical shooting sports, USPSA, 3-gun, etc., Ruger didn't play. Well, that changed drastically just a few years ago when Paul Pluff, who had worked for many years at Smith & Wesson and in fact was the head of Smith & Wesson's competition programs, moved to Ruger. And one of the first things he did was bring Doug Koenig with him. Doug Koenig, of course, is one of the finest shooters who's ever lived. It doesn't matter if it's practical pistol, the Bianchi Cup, which he's won 400, 500, 600 times, I don't know. Right now he's shooting precision rifle, and you know what? He's winning in that. So you now have a competition-minded group of people at Ruger. Now it includes, of course, Randy Rogers, Dave Alasso, James McGinty. It is a winning team, and that winning team is putting input into what Ruger is producing. The American competition is, in fact, an ideal first competition pistol because, to me, it does virtually everything right. It's got a 5-inch barrel, a little bit longer than, say, your service model 4.2-inch barrel. You can see that the slide, it's stainless steel slide, it's black nitride coated. You can see that the slide has these cuts in it. Once again, they're not cosmetic cuts. Their intent is to lighten up the front of the pistol because let's say you're shooting the Bianchi Cup or let's say you're shooting the Steel Challenge. Weight on the nose of the pistol sometimes causes you to overshoot your target. Plate, 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 whoops, dirt on the right-hand side of the plate, left-hand side of the plate. So they lightened up that slide. You can see here that these grooves, it's very flat top. It has a fully adjustable rear sight and a fiber optic front sight. It is an excellent sight picture. You don't need to say, well, you know, I got a competition gun, I'm sending it to the gunsmith to change the sights. Another thing that Ruger did 100% right on this gun is you see this plate. If you remove these two screws and take this plate off, then you can mount a Burris Fastfire, Vortex Venom, any of those red dot sights that use that particular screw pattern, and there's easily half a dozen of them. So that means you can take this gun and use it in, say, limited class, which is iron sights, or put a red dot on it, shoot it in carry optics, or shoot it in open. As I mentioned, it's 9mm. Another thing, this is how you can tell you're getting really serious competition input from your shooters. Barrel's a little bit quicker twist than you might see on an average 9mm because they want to stabilize light bullets. Why? Because competition shooters typically will shoot lighter bullets because those bullets have less felt recoil. Do they recoil less than heavy bullets? Not really. But it changes that recoil wave. And when you're going for speed, and let's face it, almost all of today's competitions are built around speed, you're going to have to adjust to that. Got a Picatinny rail on the front. You can do whatever you need to. I want to make special mention of the trigger. Now, it's obviously sort of a pre-tension striker gun, polymer frame gun, stainless steel frame inside. The trigger is great. It's got a short reset. My Lyman gauge measured the trigger at roughly 6.4 pounds. It feels less than that to me, and that may have to do with the shape of a trigger, where it comes down, it's a little bit flatter than a really curved trigger, and that makes it feel like the trigger pulls slightly less. But again, 6.5 pounds is pretty much what I got on my Lyman gauge. It doesn't feel like it. Very little take up, little slack in the trigger, virtually no over travel. All the controls are ambidextrous. You can disassemble the gun without pulling the trigger, which is a major safety point. And then, this is what changed a lot with the SR9, when we talked about recently leaving that SR9 platform. You've got these adjustable back straps that can go onto the gun, where you can literally fit this gun to your hand. And that's so important when we talk about natural point of aim. Comes with two 17-round magazines. They'll be stainless steel magazines, Teflon coated. Of course, if you happen to live in Colorado, it comes with two 10-round neutered magazines, which is a spectacular pain in the butt. So, when triggered returns, I want to talk a little bit about this gun and how it stacks up to my current competition pistols. Stay with us. This week's Triggered is brought to you by Ammo Man, still offering $10 off any order of $150 or more with the promo code TRIGGERED. Lipsy's and their wonderful Guns of the Month. Franklin Armory, creating some of the most innovative guns in America. And our two newest sponsors, Volquartsen, you're going to see some really nice 22s, and Taurus. I've got some real surprises for you on the Taurus front. Welcome back to Triggered, where we are talking about the Ruger American Pro competition model. And I took you through the features and functions last time, and I wanted to give you a comparison with my current competition guns, how they sit, and basically why you might want to choose the Ruger over something else. This is essentially my main 3-gun competition pistol. It is an STI. The company is now called Staccato after their #1 model. But this is an STI Marauder, which is a ground-up competition pistol built for 3-gun. It also has fully adjustable sight red dot front optics. Typically 17 to 20 rounds in the magazine. There's a lot of variation there as opposed to the 17 rounds in the Ruger. This is one of the best shooting guns in the world. It's built on the 2011 STI platform, and that platform has been the dominant platform in USPSA in practical competition for many, many years, although, boy, oh boy, there's some really serious challengers now. But basically, I shot this 9mm in 3-gun. It shoots as well as any gun that I've ever owned, including my other competition 1911s. If you recall, back in the early days of the sport, I shot for Mr. Wilson. I shot a Wilson Combat 45 ACP, went to a 38 Super like everybody else on earth, blah, blah. But for 3-gun, since 9mm was the standard caliber for the pistol, this is the gun I chose to shoot. It is world class. Now, what does world class cost? World class costs, gosh, a lot. If you were to buy essentially the current version of this gun, which is a Staccato XL from that company, you can expect to pay around $3,400 for it. $3,300, $3,400 to start up on it. The magazines, it'll come with 3 magazines, but you're going to have to buy more. Remember, when we're talking about competition, magazines are consumables. You drop them on the ground. If you're not careful, you step on them, or the range officer behind you steps on them, and you just took a $60 magazine and you're going to have to go back home and tap it out with a hammer. So you've got the magazine extras. Obviously, this one does not have a dot on it, nor is it cut for a dot. But for a competition pistol, STI is the standard against which the others are judged. For the last few years, though, this has been my baby. And you've, in fact, seen me build this gun up. It is a Glock 19X. Now, if you remember, a Glock 19X is a Glock 19 length slide on a Glock 17 standard frame. Now, I shot the gun without a compensator on it. I shot it with iron sights. I shot it in USPSA. I shot it some in 3-gun, as a matter of fact. I wouldn't hesitate to have shot it in IDPA. But I decided that I wanted to shoot carry optics with it. So I had the top milled down in Louisiana, a Precision Machine, great shop, and install this Crimson Trace 1300 red dot on it. So I used that in USPSA competition, and I decided that I wanted to go from carry optics to open. In USPSA competition, open allows you to have a compensator, a muzzle brake that dampens recoil. So basically, I just stuck a muzzle brake on the Glock barrel and went and shot open with it. Gives you a little bit more, a longer magazine, a few more rounds. The reason I did that, just to show you, is basically I have what amounts to a standard length gun, although the Glock has a short slide and a compensator. I still like this gun a lot. This gun and I have been through the mill. I also shot Glock GSSF competition with it. And I've dropped it. I've busted the glass by smashing the sight on a concrete block. I don't think the gun's ever malfunctioned, which is a great thing for a competition gun. But now we come back around. We're going to circle back around to this. You say, well, that's your competition gun, Michael. I want one just like it. Okie dokie. G19X is still, after all these years, in short supply. I checked prices just before I came out here to sit down, and it's going to cost you $800, $900 if you can find a G19X. You're going to have to change the barrel. You're probably, if you want the compensator, you want to go to open, that's going to be $1.50 on top of that. So once again, you're crossing that $1,000 barrier. When people say that competition shooting is expensive, well, it is. Not compared to golf, but it is, I think it's more expensive than curling. I wouldn't swear to that. So we come back now to the Ruger, and if you recall, I said maybe the very first sentence out of my mouth was that this is the ideal beginner's competition pistol. You get a start with 2 magazines. You've got a back strap that's fully adjustable, maybe one of the best back straps I've ever felt. You've got everything you need to run the gun. Ruger has thought this out very well. I like the texturing. Texturing is very important when you shoot competition, because if you shoot competition in Colorado summer when it's 345 degrees, what's going to happen is your hands are going to sweat. And when you come out of the holster, what you want more than anything else on earth is a solid grip. You need to establish a solid grip because everything comes off that. The texturing on this gun is perfect, which is what you might expect when you have Doug Koenig advising you. Koenig knows what a competition gun is as well as anybody in the entire world. So you got this absolutely perfect grip. Thumb safety, it's easy to work without changing your grip, without altering your grip. That's an issue if you're going to have to change magazines. You can go to a red dot sight. You're not going to have to spend $150, $175 on the milling. It's just a matter of undoing a couple of screws, putting it in. You've got an excellent sight picture. You've got a green fiber optic front. I like green better than red. My eyes pick up green better than red. Your eyes may pick up red, orange, gold, whatever. There's a whole lot of different variations there. But here's the punchline you've been waiting for. $579 MSRP, and I bet you can find it for less. If you think you ever might be interested in competing, wow, what a deal. Get this gun, you're good to go. So Ruger, good job good job on the Ruger American Pro competition. And I look forward to shooting it in competition. In fact, I just look forward to shooting competition again. I do miss it. Before we go, this is what we call a tease, right? In a couple of weeks, I'm going to show you what's in the box. I'm Michael Bain. This is Triggered. You can find us on michaelbain.tv and on YouTube and a lot of different other places on the internet. We'll see you next week.